Hello, welcome to JIBRIN Angle on Oweleke TV. My name is JIBRIN, and this is my angle. Today we are doing something unusual. We are having two special guests in our midst. For those of you who are just joining us for the first time, we have Barrister Austin Manta, a very senior lawyer who have been practicing for about 40 years now. So it can rightly be referred to as a very senior lawyer. We also have another professional again in the media industry, Mr. Olatunde, right? Yes, Onibio. Did I get it right? Shegun, sorry.
Yes,
sorry about that. So that is it. So he's a very old journalist. For some of you, I think some of you may know him. So it's not a common face in the industry. So we shall be talking about the matters arising, and we know what is happening in the country, our great, wonderful country, Nigeria. The entire system is on lockdown. All institutions and everything is just grounded. Everyone's life is on standstill in Nigeria. So, and that is the matters arising. That is what we shall be talking about today. And I hope our special guests will be giving justice to this topic. Excuse me, we all know that the Nigerian Labour Congress is on strike. The Nigerian Labour Congress, not just the NLC, we have the TUC, we have all the other, the NUPENG and everybody. I think I didn't even know that the courts were included in this whole strike until when Barrister Manta just brought it to my notice a few minutes ago. The courts are also in the whole stuff. So that is the situation we find ourselves. Nigeria is in right now. The entire system is just on lockdown, and that we're just trying to discuss and find a common ground or a solution to what the problem is, or the solution to the problem rather. So once again, Olusegun Onibio, you are welcome to this show. This is your first time. We appreciate your presence. I will feel honored that you were able to make our time to join us, and we say you are welcome once again.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, Barrister Manta, again, thank you once again, as usual. Everybody in Nigeria now is on compulsory holiday, and so we can understand that one may be compelled to actually have time for something like this. Notwithstanding, we still appreciate your time. As always, you've always never failed us, and thank you once again for being here.
Thank you.
All right, viewers, let's get it on. Let me start with Onibio. Yes, you, of course, this is your line. You are a journalist, and I've been following your status. You seem to be on top of this whole stuff. So can you please give us a breakdown? Now, we all know what NLC is fighting for. I think there is no right-thinking Nigerian will be on the side of government on this. The NLC is okay. The government says it's offered 60,000. I think they started from 48 or thereabout thousand. NLC offered. I think is it 400 and something thousand thereabout. Yeah. Even though some people say it is outrageous for NLC to demand for that. The last time we discussed this with Barrister Manta, I gave him my opinion. He too was on the side of it's outrageous. But in my opinion, I think while the NLC, I know they did not mean it, but I think even 400 and something thousand is not outrageous to me. Nigeria can afford it because I gave him reasons why I think the Nigerian system can afford it, because if only we can curb corruption, because the looting alone, the money our politicians loot on regular basis, if only we can curb half of that can take care of this minimum wage at 400 and something thousand. Please, what is your opinion on that, Mr. Onibio?
All right, once again, it's a pleasure to be here. I hope you can hear me clearly.
Yes, I can.
Okay, fantastic. It's a pleasure to be here, and I want to first of all commend you for this noble station, and of course the drive to help to the motherland to become better, and of course be sure that Nigerians get fair treatment, especially as we roll down the hill, trying to find our feet and of course become a nation that one should be proud of. For a very long time now, we've lost our course. Unfortunately, we are rolling down the hill, like I said, and it's unfortunate that every kind of persons have been coming forth to take the mantle and, of course, try to see how they can lead this country aright. Now, back to your question on the issue of the strike by the NLC, the TUC, and other trade unions. It is long coming. For a very long time now, we've been having situations where strikes will be declared. Then at the end of the day, you find within 24 hours that the strike will be put down, and the government and the trade unions would say that they're going back to the drawing table to continue to chart a way forward. But unfortunately, they have not been able to come to a compromise where come to a kind of balance where everybody will be satisfied. I was covering the news event yesterday, and I listened to the Minister of Information, Mohammed Idris, say on live television that what the NLC and the TUC is asking for would put Nigeria in debt. That if they were to go about paying that huge amount, in quote, huge, that Nigeria will go bankrupt. But of course, it begs to, we beg to ask, where did the 90 billion that they used to subsidize Hajj pilgrimage, where did it come from? Where did the 160 million that they used to buy SUVs for 360 senators and 360 House of Rep members and over 200 senators, where did it come from? Mm-hmm. And then, of course, there's also where did they get the money from to run the needless Lagos-Calabar Coastal Highway, where at the end of the day, the project was abandoned and they returned back to the original plan after destroying people's businesses and taking people out of work? Where did the money come from? I think it's just like a game, sort of, as it is right now. And I want to personally thank the NLC, the TUC for standing up this time, and not just standing up, but shutting down the entire country, refusing people to fly out of states, of go to offices, shut down the national grid and everything, so that everybody can join in this call. Because all of these senators that we're talking about and all these leaders, the ministers, the SAs, as small as you may think the office is, what they earn, if you compare that to what the ordinary civil servant earn as a salary, it's like 7 peanuts to monkeys. Yeah. And you know the saying that when you serve peanuts, you get to see monkeys. Okay. Yeah. It's quite unfortunate that we're debating this. It is quite unfortunate that where we are right now, there is a chart I'm going to send to you much later. Probably you could use it as a view, where a comparison was done of how much minimum wage was at the return of democracy to now. Mm. For the past 10 years, we've had a minimum wage at 30,000 naira, and some of the states don't even pay the 30,000 naira. I am aware that Kaduna State, for instance, during the last 8 years of Malam Nasir El-Rufai, refused to pay some salaries, and some workers were laid off. And the president governor had to cry that whatever he's receiving from FEC, almost 99% of it goes back to servicing the debt of the money borrowed, and he can't account for what was borrowed. If you transfer yourself from Kaduna to Kogi State, for the past 8 years that Yahya Bello was governor, nobody received salary. people who receive between 50,000 and above receive a paltry 5,000 naira, 6,000 naira a month as salary. And then where do you want such people to go to? So coming back to this issue that we have at hand right now, I salute the courage of the NLC and the TUC to take the bull by the horn. And of course, it would be unpatriotic for anybody to think that what they're asking for is too much. How much is $400,000? 400,000 naira if you convert to dollars. Yeah. It's not enough for you to go to the market with. And these are the people who would have to buy a bag of rice for above 70,000 naira. These are the same people who would have to pay rent that is getting close to $1 million naira a year. The landlords are not, they're not smiling. Even though the houses were built 10, 20 years ago, they still increase their prices by 100%.
Yeah. Yeah.
So these are the same people who would have to take their children to school. These are the same people who would have to take care of the sick. And of course, probably pay tithes if they go to church, or pay their zakat if they go to mosque. And these are the same people who would have to, who would have family members who would run to them for help, and they would have to give them something. So what are we talking about here? How much is too much to give to a man who is working? How much is a laborer's wage worth in Nigeria? So I think the 400,000 naira is even too small. Although some people would argue and tell you that people in the public service who have private businesses would have to pack up, because that means they will have to downsize or probably increase the salaries, and which means whatever the product or services that they sell would also have to go up. But for crying out loud, we buy fuel for as much as 700 naira per liter in Nigeria. And if somebody receives 30,000 naira minimum wage, and probably the take-home pay is, let's say, 150,000 naira, and he drives a car and he has a family of, let's say, 3 or 4, how does he feed? How does he take care of his necessities? So I think it is a very good development that this is coming to the fore right now. And we hope that for the sake of the progress of this country, the leadership would not be selfish as they usually would, to want to discuss all of this and wish it away, that they are the ones working for the country, so they are the ones who deserve all the salaries that they receive. For instance, on the list, which I'm going to still send to you much later, on the list of the salaries or the take-home that some senators take home and some House of Rep members take home, there's what is called hardship allowance.
Yeah, that's crazy. Honestly,
it's crazy for somebody to take close to $1 million or 2 million naira.
Honestly, hardship. Oh my God.
So what do you pay to one who leaves his house at 5:30, 6 o'clock in the morning and returns back 8 or 7 or 8 p.m. in the night? How much do you pay such a person as hardship allowance? So the question really is, how much is too much to pay a civil servant in Nigeria? I don't think whatever it is that they're asking for is outrageous, considering the situation that we have found ourselves. And of course, this situation that we are in right now is caused by the federal government itself, because that announcement on the 29th of May, at the handing over of government to person of Bola Ahmed Tinubu, that the era of fuel subsidy is gone forever, is the reason why we are all in this mess.
Yeah, you're right.
If that announcement had not been made, if a plan had been drawn and salaries probably increased, and whatever it is that the government needs to do was put in place systematically, we will not be in this hellhole.
Yeah, thank you so very much. What a long stretch. You see, we seem to be having someone like Barrister Manta, who is stretchy very detailed in his analysis as well. So Manta, you don't get your twin brother here. All right, Barrister, please, can you give us your opinion on the legal implication? Because I had some people, from some quarters that. I think it was the Minister of Information or the Labour Minister who was accusing, or rather was holding the NLC, the entire labor organization, as holding them, faulting their call for the industrial strike as illegal, calling it illegal. That what they did is it. While you give us your opinion on the everything that is going on at the moment, we need you to delve in as a lawyer to actually tell us if what NLC, if they actually went through the right process to call for this industrial action.
Yes, thank you very much, JIBRIN. Let me start by saying that the strike that the NLC have embarked upon has support among Nigerians. The whole Nigerian people are behind the Labour Congress for this strike, and they are ready to stand by them. Unfortunately, I'm just reading the news online now that they have suspended the strike for 1 week in view of a nebulous statement that, for me, I did not consider it as serious enough, because they had a meeting with the Secretary of the Government of Federation yesterday, and it was revealed to them that the president, as Tinubu, is willing to pay something above 60,000. Something above 60,000. That's why I say it's nebulous. There's no meaning to that. Like somebody pointed out, 60,100 is still above 60,000. 60,500 is still above 60,000. Let's go back to the negotiation when they were negotiating before Labour pulled out and went into a strike. It became a macabre dance, a child's play, like school children playing, because the federal government offered 57,000 as minimum wage they could pay. And when Labour refused, they added 3,000, making 60,000. And Labour on his part, who had settled at 497,000, reduced their demand by a corresponding 3,000. And settled at 494,000. So it was at that point that it became a child's play. At that point, the Labour saw that the government was not serious about the whole thing. When you are talking in these terms and somebody is adding 3,000, so it was a play on the part of Labour when they also reduced their demand by a corresponding 3%. It was at that point that Labour realized that we are just wasting our time, having been in negotiations for 2 weeks, and they had given notice of strike within that 2 weeks when they were negotiating. So when we come back to the legal issues, when the government is saying appropriate notice was not given, they have to remember that notice has been given, and during the notice time they were negotiating and the notice was running. But coming back to the issues of the amount, we have discussed this thing before. I was not saying that 490 something is outrageous, but I said it's not achievable for a variety of reasons. That amount is supposed to be the minimum wage. When that amount is given, there's going to be a graduation from that minimum wage all the way to grade level 16, grade level 17, civil servants or public servants. But over and above that, you have to remember that the minimum wage becomes legislation that is binding even on the private sector. So whatever is approved will also be binding on employers in the private sector. The OPS, Organized Private Sector, has indicated that they will be able to pay 60,000. But remember, apart from the federal government, you have the state governments, you have the local governments who will also be under an obligation to pay whatever is agreed in these negotiations. You have to understand that currently, only a few local governments will be, I doubt if any local government for that matter will be able to pay their staff in the region of 400,000. Even the local state governments, like my colleague and friend has said here, up to date, many state governments have not even paid the 30,000 minimum wage that we are talking about. It's a tug of war. Unless, I am not saying that the country does not have money to pay that amount, but unless we collapse the political structures we have now, the fake democracy we are operating now, the economy will not be able to sustain that. Because the thieving class we have as politicians, we have to steal and continue with their lifestyle. So if this current status, current system continue, that I don't see where the money will come from to pay that kind of minimum wage and graduate it up and above. We are talking of millions and millions of workers in the public sector, and then a couple of millions again in the private sector. So we have to be realistic. I do not, and even the NLC do not put that 490 something as a non-negotiable wage. I believe it's a figure put forward as a negotiating figure. And the Labour Congress is ready to come down from that to a more reasonable amount that even the economy can bear. Secondly, remember that Nigeria's economy is something different. The moment, even this 60,000, the moment you announce that you are increasing workers' salary, there will be a corresponding inflation. People in the market are everywhere. There's going to be inflationary trends that will attack that increase. At the end of the day, even though the amount will be increased, there will be a further inflation. And when you consider the percentage of inflation that we already have, it will be like giving something with one hand and taking it with the other. So we should be cautious. We all want living wages. We all want something that is manageable. Certainly, 60,000 is out of the question. 60,000 is the amount that is outrageous in the real sense as a minimum wage. I would prefer something much more than that. Let's talk from 100,000 and above, but certainly not below. And don't forget, this minimum wage, the workers that earn this amount are basically uneducated, basically without skills. They are messengers. They are, how do you call it? Most of them are without skills. They are without education of any sort. So they are at that stage. And hardly will you find them using cars or anything like that. By the same token, you find the transportation issues and other associated issues which really impact on their income coming into play. I heard this man, Osita is the Chuku, who was DG of Voice of Nigeria yesterday, talking about his own perspective that Labour should go into this with accept something slightly above 70,000, he said, but demand for other benefits in terms of transportation, housing particularly, that they should demand from the government that every worker should be enabled to have a house of his own. So I support the Labour. I support a higher, far higher minimum wage than what is being offered by government. The exact amount is what should be worked out, taking into consideration all the factors I'm talking about, but certainly not 490 something.
All right. Thank you so very much. Excuse me for that take. The next question is NLC. Do we trust NLC? We all know NLC's antecedents. Me myself, to be fair, to be candid, I never trusted. I remember the Oshomole days or whatever, who was the aggressive type. He would pretend to be doing something, to be on the side of the poor, of the masses, but eventually go behind, and so many things change. Even though his own time, actually, he achieved a lot under NLC, even though he did it though as a hypocrite, and he fleeced the system, actually. So we all know NLC. Like in my own case, I never trusted them. I still do not trust them. And going by the latest information now that you people just gave to me, that they already called it off. And Barrister, you said, okay, just like you said, I have not gone into the details of the reason why they call it off, but you just noted that they called it off without detailed plan. There is no, it's kind of it's the bleak, the detail is shrouded in a kind of secrecy, sort of nobody seems to know the details. So do we trust NLC? Do you think they are right to have called it off? Like Onibio stated earlier, that he is solidly backing and he expects all Nigerians to back NLC and support all their moves or whatever. So now that NLC have called it off, do you feel disappointed now to Onibio? Do you feel disappointed that NLC have called it off? Are you satisfied with NLC's conduct over the years up to this time we're talking about?
Is it me?
No, Shegun. I think okay, his audio has a problem. So where he's trying to adjust is.
I can hear you.
Okay, please go ahead. Did you hear my question?
Yes, you were talking about trusting the NLC.
Yes, correct. And if you are okay that they have to call off the strike.
All right. First off, I will not tell you that I trust the NLC. Neither do I trust the government. Like I said on an interview some months back, when this whole struggle started and the NLC began to organize strikes, and it was beginning to look more like a child's play, because there will be a strike today, before evening, the strike is called off. Then in 2 weeks, there's another strike. Then before you know what is going on, it is called off. I would have preferred a situation where they take a stand and stay there with the government. Knowing this government well, in the past 8 years, if you have to pass anything through this government, you need to be true and thorough. If you're not somebody who stands for something, you will fall for whatever it is that they bring your way. So if you ask me, I wouldn't say that I trust them, but I like what they're doing, and I like the direction at which it is going. Like the barrister said, what they're asking for may not be realistic, but of course, something within the range of what they're asking for is something that would do the civil servants a lot of good. For instance, I would want a situation where the government will go into a kind of agreement where whatever it is that they're supposed to give to each civil servant, they put into some form of mortgage, where you get to have houses built in your name, then you pay over time as it is deducted from your salary. It reflects on your pay slip, but of course it is deducted from source by the government to pay for your housing allowance. Because if you look at it, generally in Nigeria, aside from food, what takes away money is accommodation. Regardless of where you live in Nigeria now, almost all of the landlords have increased their rent, like I've said, by 100%. So if that is taken care of by the government, every other thing can roll in. Trusting the NLC is going to be a bit difficult for me. I don't trust them, because from the beginning, like I said, they threw away the opportunity to have taken a stand that by now what they would have been discussing is an increment of what they have already. There must be a middle ground. It is not necessary that the government would answer and say, okay, we're giving you 400,000 naira plus as your minimum wage. No, but there must be a minimum ground, a middle ground. The middle ground will be something slightly above what it is that the government is offering now and below what the NLC is expecting. Like the barrister also said, and like you also mentioned, it is very important also for the government to find a way to reduce costs of governance. If you look at the number of people that we have in the House of Representatives and the senators that we have, what is the sense in having about 4 or 5 senators representing a state and paying people so much money? We had a discussion overnight in the editors group, and we were discussing and saying that what is wrong in having a bill passed where everybody who represents Nigerians across board receive the same salary like the people in the civil service do. After all, they're under they're civil servants themselves. So what is wrong in having people graded on grade level 6 upwards, and you pay them the same amount you pay every other person who is in an office, who doesn't wear agbada and stand in front of a camera or have a microphone in front of him and saying that he's speaking on behalf of a group of people? There's nothing wrong in doing that. So if, the whole setup as it is, as it were, will be made to look like some people are more favored. That's one of the reasons why you see some of these politicians will kill to get to become senators or become governor or become something relevant in our democracy, then thereby becoming a stumbling block in moving forward. If it is easy, if it is that easy for them to revert back to the national anthem, I don't see any reason why it should also be difficult for them to also look at some of these things dispassionately and say, look, these are the yearnings of our people. That's one of the reasons why they're representing us. If they are unable to debate this and come to a compromise, it means, of course, that they're not representing us, but they're representing themselves. So I believe that the strike that was called off is temporary. They said it's for 5 days. 5 days, of course, you know, I'd do the plus or minus, will be 7 days. That's a week. And for them to sit down and come to a conclusion, then draw a final analysis. Because the NLC spokesperson said earlier this morning when he was making this announcement that the details of the agreement will be made known to the public. Nothing else has been given to the public. Nobody knows if there's any negotiation above 60,000. Nobody knows if there's any negotiation that is going to go beyond that, or probably hit the mark like the Labour Party, Labour Congress would want. So, but at the end of the day, what is most important, like we all want here, is a balanced diet for the civil servants, something that they can take to the market and come back home smiling. A tuber of yam will surprise you. If you go to the market now, two people will come together to buy a tuber of yam in Nigeria now. Nobody would expect that will come to pass. In a situation where people can buy a tuber of yam, and if you go to negotiate, they tell you it's 5,000 naira for a tuber of yam, and you have about 4 or 5 months to feed. So 60,000 or whatever it is that they're going to pay the minimum wage on, will it be enough to take care of what we need?
It will not. Now, sorry to interrupt. Now, this minimum wage, the truth is, first, my opinion on this, 60,000 is okay. I think I'd rather go with Barrister Manta that suggested 100,000 and above, even that 100,000 above. Now, one of our analysts on one of our shows, I think was it yesterday or sometimes Friday or Thursday, whatever, gave some kind of calculations and assuming that you're a family of 3 and you just eat bread, 3 square meals with just bread, no tea, no whatever. Bread, I was told bread is about 1,500, 1,400 something, 450 or whatever for just a loaf of bread.
Yes.
Yeah, so assuming you just do that, maybe or in a family of 3, a loaf of bread, of course, 1 loaf of bread cannot feed family of 3, just bread alone or whatever. So let's just assume just that loaf of bread, morning, afternoon, evening, as breakfast, lunch, and dinner. That's roughly 2,000. That approximately it's about 4,000 plus or whatever. But let's just assume because other things have to, maybe 2,000. So we have about 6,000 a day. Multiply it by 30. That's about 180,000 naira.
80,000. Yes.
So even the 180,000 naira cannot even take care of family of 3. So that is the point. So even at excuse me, for some people who are suggesting 70,000 or something a little above 70,000, or people who are even suggesting even the 100,000 doesn't go anywhere. As I said earlier, Nigeria, we have the capacity. That is one of the things. No, I know, like you, that is a journalist, you hate to hear the military, or you hate to hear anything that has to do that goes against democracy. But the truth is, this is one of the reasons I am an ardent critic of democracy. It is too expensive for us. You just look at the end. You just sent me before these details to me. Earnings of a senator for God's sake monthly 29 million naira. That's about 30 million naira. For God's sake, 30 million naira a month for just one senator. We have 370 House of Rep members. We have 109 senators, for God's sake. We have other, each of these senators, they have their own aides, multiple aides here and there. They have official cards, they have so many things or whatever. All the things that are here, this list, they're all ridiculous, for God's sake. And this is the process of democracy. As far as I'm concerned, it is not only corrupt. Democracy is an alien thing. I've said it over and over. It's something that we imported. It's a Western style way of. We should apply our own, something that suits us. It may not necessarily be military, but something that can actually go with our system, our culture, the way our lifestyle. So democracy is too expensive. And when it comes to Nigeria, Nigeria makes it overly expensive, outrageously expensive, because it is riddled with all manner of duplicity, in the system. Everything is duplicated. So that is the point here. And on NLC, the truth is, NLC is just, I don't trust them. I will never trust them. Now, what they did, calling off this strike is uncalled for. There's something I appreciate when in activism, there's something I appreciate, and that is momentum. When momentum is on your side, if you cave in when the momentum is on your side, I'm telling you, you shot yourself in the foot. So, and for them to cave in and call off this strike, that the momentum is on their side, they chickened out, as always, and that's what they've always done. They chickened out when they get into those rooms, those closed door meeting, whatever. Of course, everybody knows that deals change hands, money change hands. Sorry, I am a very raw person. I'll just say it the way it is. So that is just the reality on ground. That is one thing. That is one of the reasons why I do not trust, and I will never trust. For you just did something, but within 24 hours you called off a strike. For what? You called off this strike. You did not tell us. You are not telling Nigerians why you called off this strike. You're not giving us details. That is the problem. The devil is in the details. That is why they don't want to let it out of the bag. So, Barrister Manta, please, what is your opinion on this?
Well, let me start with trusting labor. I'm the first person to say, or I'm among the first person to say, that the days of patriotic and vibrant labor are long gone. The days of Imodu, Hassan Somunu, whom the whole Nigerians trusted as vibrant, patriotic labor leaders, is long gone. The intervention by the military government of Buhari, Babangida, in the labor movement, in the leadership of the labor movement in those days, from that moment, labor is no longer what labor used to be or what is supposed to be. A lot of things are happening in labor today. So number one, Nigerians should be wary of labor or regarding labor as the representative of the masses. Number two, as you have pointed out and my friend has pointed out, they do not carry the fight to its logical conclusion at every point in time. This strike is a strike that is supported by, if anybody should even tell you, over 90% of Nigerians. There is wide and broad support for this strike. Just a day, and the government is already panicking. Just a day, and on nebulous and promises that have been made in the past and have not been fulfilled, you call off the strike, that you are going, what are they going to negotiate?
Nothing.
All the government has always wanted is to block a strike. They don't want the strike. So anything that, and it has happened repeatedly, the government will make an offer, we came in and say, okay, let's go, and we are agreed on this, let's go and discuss the details. At the end of the day, even the agreement as reached with the government is not implemented. So this is an opportunity that they should have taken and continue with the strike until a logical conclusion was reached, which the whole Nigerian people, all of us, will look and will be happy that even though we have suffered, we are all suffering. I went to Abuja on Sunday for a case against yesterday. I slept in Abuja. Yesterday, I went to court only to find that everywhere was locked up. So I had to come back. There's no light. Everything is as it started. We are suffering, but if we do not achieve or see any tangible success, then what is the suffering for? What is the rest of the country suffering for? So Labour, what they have done is a disappointment. The people wanted them to persist until a logical success was achieved. But like they always do, they are chickened out. Now they say they are going into discussion on the actual amount. Okay, the person came out. This is not something new. This government, as well as past government, have been discussing issues of minimum wage for a long time. There's nothing new about it. It's not today you will start planning what you want to pay or how it is going to be paid. This thing has been in the public domain for a long time. If the government was sincere, they would have come with a clear-cut position, with even analysis. Put it before the Nigerian people. We want to pay 70,000. We want to pay, this is the analysis. This is the flow of financial income. This is expenditure. These are these things. Please help us analyze this and look for yourself that this is what is achievable. But they cannot do that because, like I said, the thieving political class that we have, we want to continue with their unwarranted privileges that they do not merit. And they want to take as much as they can take from the, they don't bother whether the average Nigerian is suffering. It's not them, it's not really their problem. I have advocated in the past that there should be a constitutional amendment to pay the salary of political appointees to the civil servants. We can do it in a very simple way. Let the House of Reps members take 10% of a director, more than a director in the federal civil service. Let the senators take 20% more than, or 10% more than the PAMSEC in the civil service, together with the allowances.
And that's another, you take sorry to cut it short, that's another way to use one stone to kill two birds. By so doing, you will automatically, by default, streamline the attraction that office, the political office, brings, which is good for the system.
I have argued today that election into public office is a passport to wealth. That should not be.
It.
And that compromises and I've called this democracy several, I've called it fraudulent. It's a fraudulent and false democracy. We are not operating democracy. It has not brought us peace. It has not brought us unity. It has not brought us progress. Nigeria has never been more divided, with theater on the brink because of religious, ethnic, and geopolitical divides that have been accentuated by politicians trying to get into power. So we are not going in the right direction that democracy should go. The West, US and others have presented democracy to us as an end game. It is not. It is supposed to be a means towards a better society, a progressive society. But they presented it to us as if it is the end in itself. And we swallowed it. We think that the democracy doing this thing is we have achieved it. We have not achieved anything.
That is it.
After 20-something years of this current democratic government, we can see that our country is more imperiled now than before.
That is it. That's my point. That has been my point.
More imperiled now than before. So in what way is this democracy helping us?
No, it is not.
It's not helping us.
It is not.
But you cannot, with the current structures, that is why I said if we want to really reorientate and make Nigeria progress, we have to dissolve the current structures, because as long as the senators and House of Reps members are there and the executive who are politicians are there, they will not agree to a significant reduction in their unwarranted privileges that they are getting now. They will not agree to amend the constitution to make it such a way that they too are public servants of the Federation. Let them earn a salary equivalent to what people who have served in the public service 20-30 years are earning. Why should somebody who is elected today, some of them are even illiterate, why is somebody who is elected today in the House of Reps or Senate suddenly being paid 20-something million monthly? For what reason? And Nigerians are quiet. We should all be on the street protesting. Either the revision of their salary and allowances or the abolition of the parliament.
That is it.
We should be out there doing protesting. We don't want this. This is not what we bargained for. And unless those structures are done, we are just talking here. Okay, the government will belatedly say, okay, we are giving you 75,000. This is where I'm seeing the whole thing is coalescing to. Then we go back to the problem has just been scratched upon. It has not even been solved by 20%. So we are back to the problem. And 1 year, 2 years down, we are back sitting here discussing the same issue that we ought to have solved. So let's look at it very well. We are compromised by a fraudulent political structure. We are compromised by corrupt, unrelenting politicians. We are compromised by our own inertia, our own lack of awareness, and our own inactivity to hold these people to account. So they are now holding us as slaves. That is the end of it.
You can't say it better than that. Honestly, you have said it all, and that is just the point. Why we come to the end of this show, let me give Libio the opportunity to, if he has more thing to add to what Barrister Manta just said, then we can call it a day.
All right. Barrister has already said virtually everything that I was going to say. I was trying to be cautious, but I'm glad he came all out and firing on all cylinders.
Yeah.
If you put your trust in NLC or the government, you're wasting your time. Like we would say, what is most important now is for us to pray to survive. But over and above everything, God answers prayers, but of course, it's not going to come down to fight for us. The action needs to be taken by Nigerians. If I decide that I'm going to take the front lead, who are the people who are going to follow you? That is the big question, because Nigerians these days easily give up, just like the NLC.
Yeah.
You called for a strike yesterday, and today you are going back to the negotiation table. There is no crime in negotiating while you are still at war.
Yeah.
There's no crime in doing that, especially when you're dealing with somebody who is insincere.
Yeah.
We have a government that is not sincere. You need to go back to some of the videos to see the kind of promises that the present government made individually and collectively to Nigerians before they grabbed power and ran with it, like Tinubu said.
Yeah, Tinubu said.
Yes, and you also need to go back to 2012 when Goodluck Jonathan was trying to remove the subsidy, and the kind of beautiful piece, the kind of beautiful material that to the Tinubu movement. There is a group that they had with Britwaite, what's his name now? This man that is a pastor now, Tunde Bakari, and a couple of others. Yes, they have a group, they have a movement there, and where they took over and went to Ojota, called musicians and sang and drank and ate and made noise for days on why the fuel price should not be increased. And unfortunately, the same set of people, of course, were the same set of people who said they were fighting democracy when they were fighting Abacha way back, are the same people who are making democracy look to us like dictatorship. You know, we Nigerians seem to be okay whichever situation they find themselves. When you tell a Nigerian you would need to protest on this and do that, then they would the first thing they would ask you, or probably when you're trying to mobilize, is where is he from? Then when you're done with where it's from, then they will ask you what religion does he practice.
Yeah.
And if you don't practice that religion, they will tell you it is haram for you to protest, even when you're dying. So I think it takes collective effort. Me, I have said, and I've always advocated that there are two ways out of this issue for us. Why either we return back to restructuring by as recommended in the confab in 2014, where everything was detailed, although some part of the country, like the North, refused to be part of it. If you read that report, you would see that Nigeria has derailed. Unless we return back to the basis, it's going to be very difficult for us to move forward. Then secondly, if you return back to regional government, forget about what you're reading in the newspapers. that they're going to introduce regional government and everything. All of that is a distraction. All of that is a distraction for what is going on presently. You know, this government is very good with propaganda, deceit, and lies.
Yeah.
When they tell you, like we got a report from NLC yesterday that the soldiers surrounded where they were having their meetings.
Yeah.
And immediately
that's intimidation. Yeah.
Yes, when journalists got there and filmed them and interviewed people around and everything, the NSC's office quickly came up through the military that they were not there to intimidate anybody, that usually they have a retinue of soldiers who follow the NSA about. For crying out loud, what is the NSA doing, doing at the negotiation table? What exactly is it doing there?
Oh, Nuribadu was there?
He was there. He was there. So what?
And what is the business of the soldiers escorting the NSA?
Honestly,
NSA up and
we
down.
have police to do that. What is the business of the soldiers escorting NSA? He's not a military officer.
Wow. Oh, you're coming to a negotiation table where you're going to discuss peace, and you're coming with weapons. What are you coming there to do? To fight war? So you see, we until we agree to have this discussion that we are heading the wrong way, and we return back to our promised land. It's going to be to our Egypt. Sorry, it's going to be very difficult for us to cross the Red Sea and get to our promised land. This country as it is too big, and of course too divided for us to have one leader who thinks he has an idea on how to run this country. I keep telling people before the elections that what you're going to see Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu do in Abuja will be a replicate of what he did in Lagos. And you don't grab people's lands and make them pay taxes and tell them that you are generating IGR, and people have to close up their businesses and you don't care if they die or they leave. And so that as long as you're surviving, you're making so much money. What does it translate to? Does it translate to security for the people? Does it translate to food? Does it translate to any form of social amenities for them? What exactly are you giving to people that is free? While you're sharing money to yourself, your family, and your cronies, the ordinary man suffers. And unless this ordinary man is tired, even goat, when you pursue and reach wall, you go turn face, you bite you. Yeah. Unless we are tired of the situation and we stand up on our own. Forget about what happened during the NSAS. NSAS was just like an anger towards the police for what the police has been doing. The police is back to their usual business. They're doing the same thing again after a long while. Why? Because we were unable to reach an agreement on the way forward, especially with that particular situation then. Unless we agree on where we are going to with this particular issue that we're dealing with right now, it is going to be very, very difficult for us to get out of this Egypt and get to the promised land.
Thank you so much. If Barrister Manta, if you have something to add to that, you can just interrupt me. I don't mind, but I'm closing right now. Yes, for me, honestly, while we close, I do not see anything. I've always said it, and I'll keep saying it. I've never, all the advices and suggestions and everything the diagnosis, everything it's cogent, it's apt, you guys are on point. And I hope all our viewers have had, and I hope the people in authority, unfortunately, I do not trust the people in authority. I'm not, especially this government, just like you noted, Tinubu's government. I don't see anything good coming out from Tinubu's government, nothing, because when the foundation is faulty, what can the righteous do? So you just can't build something on nothing. We may, if you all have been, I think I've said this earlier on other shows rather, that Tinubu does not care about what Nigerians think, and that is why anything he decides to do, he does not seek for public opinion on that. He just wakes up in the morning and the only thing he does is just filters the rumor out there, and the next day he implements it. That is to tell you that's the kind of person he just behaves like the military. And that's one of the reasons why this issue, what we call, I don't even understand why we call it democracy. Like Barrister rightly pointed that we are not really practicing democracy, because democracy is about consultation. You don't just bring up policies and sign it into law without sampling public opinions, without consultations or whatever. You don't do that. So in a nutshell, like I said,
let me mention something that I forgot to mention. I read the statement of Bayo Onanuga. You know, Bayo Onanuga is a spokesperson of the president. He's all now sitting. He was saying that the NLC is lucky that we are not in a military regime. Can you imagine a spokesman of the president making that useless statement?
That
if it were a military, will he be there? Will his principal Tinubu be there?
You can imagine that.
But Barrister,
any NLC that will be in, he himself, he will not be there. His boss, the president, will not be there.
That Bayo Onanuga has been. I am surprised. He's been noted to be very reckless. I don't understand why he should. That guy is so reckless in his words.
It is not only Bayo Onanuga. You need to also be able to follow Ngelale, the man who's also the spokesperson. They're always at par with each other. And of course, you need to also remember that there was Eli Mohammed, who was notorious for yes, he's a lawyer, and the man is very, very, very good at twisting issues. And I'm not surprised that Bayo Onanuga is behaving this way. I am not surprised. You see, some of these guys are probably because of their background. A lot of people used to believe when he was at Newswatch, he was somebody that people would want to read his article on how to move Nigeria forward, and he was patriotic and was so his writers were so moving and touching. He was one of the people that were arrested by Abacha and locked up. Unfortunately, all of them that are in government now, 70% of them were the same people who were arrested. So I'm not surprised he's behaving this way anyway.
Yeah, that's just it. That's Tinubu. They said, what do you expect from people around him? Show me your friend and I will tell you who you are. That's exactly what is happening. So it's unfortunate. Thank you so much. Honestly, I appreciate your time, Barrister Austin Manta and Olusegun Onibio. Thank you for making our time to be here, especially Onibio that just joined us for the first. I hope this will be the beginning of a regular show with us. We appreciate this time. We appreciate your insight. Barrister, as always, we appreciate your insight as well. Once again, viewers, this is JIBRIN Angle on Oweleke TV. My name is JIBRIN, and this show becomes most times weekly, but sometimes when we have some emergencies like this, we just because if it's something that has to do with national interest, we just create time to make something like this, and that's exactly what we are doing today. So thank you for joining us. If you are a new person, this is a show that we just say the way it is. This is my angle. This is exclusively this angle's anchor, and I'm not a journalist. I'm just an opinionist. That's just it, So I say the way it is. I don't care whose ox is God. So that is just, and I expect anyone that comes on this platform, my guest or whatever, just say it the way you want to say it. And we don't care. Just be as raw as possible. And if you want to be diplomatic, that's fine. That's your choice. But at the same time, I appreciate you guys. I appreciate your frankness. I appreciate your sincerity. I appreciate your courage actually to say all that you say, and that is just the truth. We hope that the relevant authorities will watch this clip. Thank you very much, everyone, and see you next time, hopefully on Saturday.